சீதா கல்யாணம் வைபோகமே ராமா கல்யாணம் வைபோகமே சீதா கல்யாணம் வைபோகமே ராமா கல்யாணம் வைபோகமே சீதா கல்யாணம் வைபோகமே ராமா கல்யாணம் வைபோகமே I struggle with English. When I talk to you, I mean just to you, it's okay. But when there's space between you and me, English becomes almost too big for me. I become fidgety, formal, my diction takes over, and my body is confused. I am from India. I can speak English. English is my cerebral language. And I speak another language, Tamil. Tamil is my body language, the one I move with. அது வந்து தலையிலேந்து கால் வரைக்கும் பேசலாம் அது. அது கால் பேசும், கை பேசும், தலை பேசும், எல்லாமே ஆடும். புரியுறதோ நோ? அந்த தமிழ் வந்து அப்படியே மண்ணிலேந்து ஊறி வரும். ஏன் கேட்கனா அது வந்து தாயாரோட பாஷை. எல்லாருக்கும் ஒரு தாயார் இருக்கா இல்லையா? அந்த தாயார் வந்து அப்படியே எடுத்துன்னு வந்து ஹிருதயத்தை வச்சு ஹிருதயமிலேந்து எடுத்து வாயில் வச்சு பேசினா அதான் நன்னா உடுப்புரும். அந்த இங்கிலீஷ் இருக்கே, அந்த இங்கிலீஷ் தலை மேலே கொட்டினா எப்படி? அந்த இங்கிலீஷ் தலையிலேருந்து இங்கே தான் வரும், அங்கேருந்து வாயில் வரும். இந்த தமிழ் இருக்கோனோ தமிழ் கீழேந்து அப்படி வரும். ஆனால் இந்த இங்கிலீஷ் மேலே தள்ளி தமிழ் கீழேந்து வந்து ரெண்டும் சேர்ந்தா என்ன ஆகும்? குழப்பம். I studied English in India, in a Catholic convent girls' school, where diction and posture were of great importance. For whom? For what? I didn't know. But they were important. Possibly for the marriage market. Slim, fair girl. I was too dark for those standards. Speaks good English. Preferably convent educated. Good virtues. Probably the assurance of a virgin for a future husband. Cooks well, sings well, dances well. Though singing and dancing has to stop after marriage. Naturally. Manages the house well. And in today's world, brings home a good salary. Tarikitava, dirikitapo, dalangu tarikitavuma, abhishekama paniko. Kutta kinna kinna tangana meduva va. Tarikita, சீக்கிரமா போ. எல்லாமே சேர்த்து என் தலை மேலே கொட்டினா எப்படி? நான் என்ன ஆண்டவனா? எனக்கு 2 கை தான் இருக்கு, எனக்கு 8 கையா இருக்கு. எனக்கு என்ன பண்ணணும்னு கேட்டால் எனக்கு ஆடணும், அதுவும் அங்கே அங்கே போய் எனக்கு நல்லா ஆடணும், இதெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் பண்ண வேண்டாம். புரியலையா? ஏன் இங்கிலீஷில் தான் பேசணுமா? சரி, ஐ நீட் டு மூவ்.
என்ன ரெடியா? தளாங்கு தளாங்கு தக்கதென்னித தளாங்கு தக்கதென்னி தக்கதென்னி ಗೆಳದೋ ಗೆಳದೋ ನತೋ ತೋ கிடக்கத்தோ சரி கிட்டத்தக்க வரல கிட்டத்தக்க தோணும் இன்னும் வரல கிட்டத்தக்க தோம் தீம் 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 தரையிட தீம் தோம் தரையிட தோம் வரியா இல்லட்டா அங்கே போ வேண்டாமா? சரி தெரியுதோ 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 தெரியும் தக்கதோ தெரியும் தத்தாங்கிடதகத தெரியும் தத்தாங்கிடதகத தெரியும் தத்தாங்கிடதகதலாங்குதும் தரிகிடதும் தலாங்குதும் தரிகிடதும் தான்.
I don't struggle when I speak to you with my hands. Here, I have now turned my hand into a symbol, what in English we call mudra. There are many mudras. This one is called patakam. Patakam means flag in English, but it can mean other things too. It can mean me, you, all of you. There, sky, clouds, there to there. Stop. As you can see, this is a wall, and it stands right between us now, with you on the other side of it. It's a soft wall. It gives. Now it's a hard wall. It resists. Now that you know the wall is here, I'm going to push it to the side till later. கவலைப்பட வேண்டாம். நான் இங்கே தான் வரப்போகிறேன். கொஞ்சம் உதவி வேணும். அது. This is a woman. We always show a woman holding the stem of a flower by her chest. This mudra is called Kapitam. Now let's say this woman is waiting for a man. Let's say the man is her lover. வெக்கமா? பரவாயில்ல. This is a man. Now, if I nudge him towards you, I'm asking you, do you not know him? This mudra is called Shikharam, which means mountain peak. For the purposes of our story, let's put our man over there. Now, I become the woman, and I'm going to ask the man to come to me. I stretch my hands out to you with a new mudra like this, and then I push my eyes towards you and leaning my body forward. Then, I lift my arms up with my eyes following them, and I arc them with a little resistance towards my chest, turning them to face up. I stare down at my palms as if I'm cradling a baby. Then I look up at you. The woman has told the man, "Oh, come from there to here, to my intimate space." Now, do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? No? Oh. Well, you can't decide. Only I can decide, because I am the narrator. And I shall decide that this lover's tryst will not happen. I shall negate it. No. வைக்க வேண்டாம். The other woman. You see what I've done? I've created 3 points in space. The man, the first woman, and now the other woman. And I keep coming back to you with my hands extended towards you like this, asking you, do you not see this? For I always have to come back to you to bring you right back into the story. The man walks, but he goes to the other woman. They get into a tight embrace and make love. Family mudras. Mukulam, lotus bud. Alapadmam, lotus in full bloom. Mukulam to Alapadmam, womb. Womb. Hamsapaksham, wings of a swan, mother. Womb, Shikharam, mountain peak, father. Womb, Hamsapaksham, Mushti, fist, grandmother. Womb, Shikharam, Mushti, grandfather. That was my grandfather's favorite song. Soja, Rajkumari, Soja. Go to sleep, little princess, go to sleep. When my grandfather became very old, he could hardly move. An active man once, now when he moved a limb, it moved so slowly and deliberately, trying to grasp and reach for things. During this time, I visited India from America. I went to see him every day. I would enter his house and watch him sitting on his chair. I would go during tiffin time, which is their snack time in the early afternoon. I would take some food in my hand, open his mouth, put the food in his mouth and close his jaw, and then watch him as he would slowly eat his food. During this time, his eyes would turn to look at me. When he was slowly eating his food, I would start to talk, and I would tell him about my life in America, my marriage, my friends, and of course, my dancing. I would bring the whole world to him right there where he was sitting and slowly eating. When it was time for me to leave, I would say, Tata. Tata means grandfather in Tamil. I would say, Tata, I have to go now, but I will come back tomorrow. Don't worry. And then I would hold his hand in mine to reassure him that I would come back. But one day, when it was time for me to go, I suddenly felt my hand being held by his, so strongly and firmly that it hurt. I tried to take my hand out, but I couldn't. So I used my other hand to peel each finger of his. And in doing so, I noticed that his index finger was pointed in my direction. His eyes were looking the same way. I left. I went to my parents' house and I entered it. My mother opened the door and said, "Ah, you have come. Your grandfather just died." It was then that I realized that when he was holding my hand, he was having a massive heart attack. And to this day, I often look at his hand, wondering what was it that he was giving me with his dying breath. My marriage in America was breaking up. So I decided to visit India during that time. My grandfather had died, and now my grandmother was widowed. As per Hindu customs, she went to live with her son. She had her own room. She was sitting on a chair and swinging her legs back and forth, and her head bobbing up and down, looking at the television. She wasn't watching or listening to it. She was just there. So I sat next to her and I said, Pati. Pati means grandmother in Tamil. I said, Pati, I have something to tell you. My marriage is breaking up. Pati, I have something else to tell you. I'm seeing someone else. அதெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் கவலைப்பட வேண்டாம், புரிஞ்சுதா? எல்லாம் சரியாகும். அங்கே மேலே ஆண்டவன் இருக்கானோ, எல்லாம் பார்த்துப்பார், எனக்கு எல்லாம் தெரியும். கிருஷ்ணமூர்த்தி, கிருஷ்ணமூர்த்தி, கேட்டேலோ? செவிடா, அன்னிலேருந்து கூப்பிட்டு இருக்கேன், ஒன்றுமே காது விழாதோ. நீங்கள் எப்படி அங்கே யமன் வீட்டில், நான் இங்கே, நீங்கள் அங்கே, எப்படி அது? 72 வருஷமாக அவங்க கூட டியூட்டின்னு பண்ணியிருந்துருக்கேன். இப்போ ஒன்றும் இல்லை, எல்லாம் போச்சு. உங்களுக்கும் எனக்கும் சம்பந்தமே இல்லை இப்போ, புரிஞ்சுதா? இப்போ நீங்கள் ஒன்றும் சொல்ல முடியாது, நான் விட்டு பேசலாம். கேட்டேலோ? காதில் விழலையா? செவிடா. She turned to me and said, "Oh, don't you worry, everything will be fine. That God up there will take care of you. I know that." Then she pointed her finger up and said, Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti was my grandfather's name. She said, Krishnamurti, you deaf man, can't you hear me? You've never been able to hear me. Look at you happily sitting in Yama's house. Yama is the god of death. And I am over here. 72 years I've been with you doing all my duties. Now we have no more of a relationship. It's all gone. You can't tell me anything anymore. I can speak freely. Let my mind wander. She may have been going slowly, but she could talk to you directly and let her mind wander. Sometimes I let my mind wander too. Eyes. Hamsasyam, beak of a swan, drawing eyes. Kartari mukham, face of scissors, opening eyes. Patakam, flag, bound. Alapadmam, lotus in full bloom, youthful, free-spirited, young. During my teenage years, when I was studying Indian classical dance, I toured a lot with my dance teacher's company. We did a lot of performances, especially the excerpts from the Ramayana, particularly the ideal marriage of Sita, the princess of Mithila, and Rama, the prince of Ayodhya. Sita Kalyanam Vaibhogame Rama Kalyanam Vaibhogame. We did these dances not just in big cities, but also in smaller towns and in provincial spaces. In one of the provincial theatres, the dressing room was pretty run down. There was one bulb hanging from the ceiling, lighting a scratched mirror. Peering into the mirror, I took my foundation and started erasing my face, taking away all its features. Then I took an eyeliner and began drawing one eye, big and stylized, becoming older, experienced, exotic. My other eye remained open, not yet painted, not yet defined, not yet experienced. That day, when I saw the scratched mirror, I realized that my one face was indeed two people. And I wondered, which one was I? The exotic goddess or the young teenager? New York. I recently started working with a dancer in New York, a beautiful dancer from the New York City Ballet. One day, when I went to work with him, he was injured. His back was out. So all my preparations had to go right back into the bag. I asked him to pull a chair and sit down. And then I took a chair and I sat in front of him. We were sitting very close, our knees almost touching. I decided to play a game of hand gestures with him. Patakam, Tripatakam, Ardhapatakam, Kartarimukham, Mayurakyam, Ardhachandram. He seemed to be catching up, so I decided to go a little faster. Patakam, Tripatakam, Ardhapatakam, Kartarimukham, Mayurakyam, Ardhachandram, Aralam, Shukatundam. He was keeping up with me. Then I decided to change my plan and play the game very slowly and see what might unfold. It was then that we started to mirror each other. Our eyes met and did not move, but our hands moved. We were very close, almost touching, but not. One could sense the breath between them as they changed gestures, became different characters, and started telling stories. At one point, I closed one eye. He did the same. When I slowly opened my hand, revealing my eye looked straight into his eye, directly into his soul. With that same breath, I realized that he was looking directly into mine.
The architecture of a Hindu temple mimics the human body, a body lying down on the earth. From the streets we enter through the feet, the Gopuram, a multi-tiered gateway reaching up to the skies. In the courtyard, we see the flagpole, a place of offering and sacrifice. It is the symbol of the erect phallus of man. We leave the flagpole and enter the navel and upper torso, the dancing hall. In the old days, young virgins from the Devadasi outcast community were donated to the temple. As dancers, now married to the god, they became his sacred medium. I was born a Brahmin from the highest priestly caste. At age 5, I started learning Bharatanatyam, which is a revived and revised form of the original Devadasi's dance, which has now journeyed from the temples to the theatres. Next, we walk through the neck, the vestibule, taking us to the inner sanctum, the space of the head, the mind's eye. Also a womb, a quiet, dark space, a place for meditation. It is here that the priest awakens the statue of the god, with a lit camphor in his right hand and a bell in his left hand. As he rings the bell, he revolves the fire clockwise in front of the god 3 times, while the devotees close their eyes and meditate on the sound of the bells and the warmth of the flame. When I was 12 years old, my mother took me to Chidambaram, the temple of the dancing Shiva. When we reached the mouth of the sanctum, we stood and craned our necks to get a glimpse of Shiva in the dark womb. When the priest came with the camphor, my mother whispered to me, "Breathe in, don't close your eyes. Keep them open, and then you will see the god." And so it was that I saw the light and shadow of the revolving flame. Shiva came alive. His limbs were now performing the dance of life and death, merging the dancer with the dance.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
It's a long story that I won't tell you tonight. But thanks to the cricket obsession of my English boyfriend, I, a young Indian woman, found myself in Pakistan. On a moonlit night, we were with a guide, walking in an old section of the ancient city of Lahore. As we were taking in the fairy tale-like enchantment of the district, we heard the sounds of dancing bells accompanied by the percussive sounds of the tabla. We noticed a window ajar in one of the old houses, and through the open window we saw a single dancer immersed in her rehearsal with her musicians. Her graceful limbs were like brushstrokes painting the air, responding to the play of the drums. Soon she would be ready, her dance enticing her clients inside.
I continued walking down a narrow street, past little houses, all painted in different colors. Here I noticed one open door. Standing in front of that door was a beautiful woman gazing up at the moon. Her face was powdered, lips were rouged, and her eyes were made up to look large and exotic. Caught by my stare, she now turned to look at me, and we gazed at each other. In the dark, I asked my guide, "What happened?" He explained that seeing my Western boyfriend trailing behind me, our beautiful girl was worried about foreigners. Human rights activists documenting this red light district and threatening her business. So whenever a foreigner was spotted, the community's signal was to slam the door so that everyone could vanish.
ஓஹோ
அந்த அதே போர்ட்ஸில் நிற்கிது டிக் டிக் அது ஜம்ப் பண்ண மாதிரி திரும்ப டிக் என்று
ஓஹோ
Spaces. A Dulles theorist once said that there are 27 points in space. I'll show you the first 8. Middle, down, up, sideways across, sideways open, forwards, backwards, and then there are more. In 8 of these points live the gods. I'll show you 3. The Lord of the Northeast, Shiva, the god of destruction. The Lord of the Southeast, Agni, the god of fire. The god of the south, Yama, the god of judgment and death. Speaking of spaces, I live right around the corner with my family in a beautiful but cozy apartment. My young daughter has enjoyed seeing her parents every day in this apartment. She and I lovingly call our place a doll's house. But she's growing up. The space is shrinking. And she's thinking of a bigger world. Recently, I wrote down how she described this bigger world. I'll read it to you. When we go to a new house, I can have my own room, choose my paints to paint my room. When we go to a new house, I can have my friends over for play dates and sleepover. When we go to a new house, you and Daddy can have your own room too. When we go to a new house, my grandparents can stay for a long time with me. When we go to a new house, it won't be like a doll's house anymore. When we go to a new house, you and Daddy will sleep far away from me. When we go to a new house, I won't see your face when I wake up in the middle of the night. This reminds me of a story of a new house in Porter Ranch, which is an outlying suburb of Los Angeles. This story is about my cousin Karthik. Karthik, who was named for the second son of Shiva, Shiva being the god of destruction, but also the god of dance. His dance of life going from birth to death and back again. Karthik was the god of war. But my cousin Karthik wasn't a god. He was human. A man with a sense of emptiness right from the start. For his mother had died when he was very young. To fill this emptiness, Karthik married Subhashri. Subhashri meaning auspicious, and also the name of a powerful goddess, Amba. So Karthik left America, where he was living, and went right back to India, where he married Subhashri and brought her with him back to America, to Los Angeles. Soon, she gave birth to 3 beautiful sons: Krishna, Ganesha, Arjuna. Krishna, who was named after the Hindu god, was an incarnation of Vishnu, the preserver of the universe. Ganesha, the first son of Shiva, was the gatekeeper of all knowledge and the remover of obstacles. And Arjuna, the warrior hero from the epic Mahabharata, was the son of King Indra, the king of gods. So here was Karthik with his beautiful family in America, living the American dream, and also an Indian one. And they should have lived happily ever after. But after some years, Karthik ran into trouble. He kept losing his focus with his work as his mind kept wandering. His old emptiness had come back to haunt him. For fear of losing everything he had, he decided to put his life on a spiritual path. So Karthik took his family with him and went to India, where he found a guru. And he decided to live in a house right next to his gurus. But that wasn't meant to be. Local corruption and greed meant that he had to abandon his plans. In fact, he had to leave and flee the country and go right back to America. In Los Angeles, his emptiness grew bigger than ever. That's when he decided to go to a new house, the one in Porter Ranch. When we go to a new house, it won't be like a doll's house anymore. When we go to a new house, you and Daddy will sleep far away from me. When we go to a new house, I won't see your face when I wake up in the middle of the night. I call my daughter Amba, after the powerful goddess, who has many names, one of them being Subhashri, Karthik's wife. In India, in the months of September and October, we celebrate this goddess for 9 nights. During these nights, women and their daughters dress festively and gather together to go to the houses of their family and friends in celebration of this goddess. It was 2008. The last nights of September marked the first nights of the celebration. As per age-old custom, Subhashri turned her house into a beautiful shrine, a doll's house, and placed all the Hindu gods around the room. Dressed in lovely saris and adorning herself in jewelry, she made her rounds to her women friends' festive households. On the last of the 9 nights, she wore her wedding sari, and everyone exclaimed how she looked like the fetching bride she'd once been. That night, when she came back home, it was to a full family, for Krishna, her eldest, was paying an unexpected visit from college, worried about his father's sense of emptiness. Even her mother was visiting from India to help her with the 2 younger boys. It was late. Subhashri went to bed, as had everybody else in the household. Everyone was asleep. Everyone except Karthik, who was waiting for this moment to carry out his plan. First, he went to his mother-in-law's room. Attaching a silencer to the handgun, he made sure no one heard the first fatal shot. Next, he went to his wife's bedside and placed a bullet on the back of her sleeping head, the exit wound erasing her face. Then came Krishna, killed in identical fashion. Now were remaining the 2 boys, Ganesha and Arjuna, who shared a bedroom. But the killing of little Arjuna must have awakened Ganesha, for his body was not found on the bed like the others, but in fact on the floor, lying next to his father. Having woken up suddenly, Ganesha must have faced his father, and the 2 might have even talked for a bit. Then with the final 2 bullets, Karthik erased his family from this troubling world of ours. When I was in university, I read a short story by Leo Tolstoy. And Leo Tolstoy's story was, how much land does a man need? This story is about a man who lives in Russia. He takes up a challenge by which he could win a lot of land. The challenge is this: starting at sunrise, he should cover as much land by foot as possible. But he must return to the same starting point by sunset. Only then he can win all the land. Filled with greed, this man decides to go as far as he can, when suddenly he notices the sun coming down really fast. He runs as fast as he possibly can back to his starting point and reaches it just on time, thereby winning all the land he has covered. But so exhausted is he that he dies then and there. When they come to bury him, they give him 6 feet of soil, just enough for his body. Karthik's relatives, myself included, went to Los Angeles for the funeral. The funeral was in the chapel of a cemetery, a small chapel with a small cross on the altar's empty wall. There were 6 cardboard boxes, each lying next to the other, each box the size of the body it enclosed. Then walked in a Hindu priest, carrying a bell in his left hand, ringing it loudly and chanting ancient verses in Sanskrit. When he was done, some workers took the boxes to the next room, to the crematorium. There we watched as each box, one after another, were consumed by the Lord of the Southeast, Agni, the god of fire.
Amritam ghritam vayaha kilalam varishrutam swadhastadarpayadu me vidrene yeshan namata nabita nabhantur na anyagotrinaha te sarve trupti mayanti mayochushtaih कुशोदगैः द्रव्यत 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 ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः